这里我们在读金融机构管理。
大三倒数第二天，
那抽的水应该过敏吧？咱抽几样？
第二天，三结束，最后一天。我们刚考完气血管，给大家看一下大超，front and back。那我们课结束了，我们想要解大三，应该现在是我们要大四了吧？
You're right. My third year has officially come to the end. I spent a long time pondering how to summarize the third year with a word, cause it wasn't as clearly defined as the previous ones. Like, it doesn't have obvious theme, no overwhelming climax, but as I traced the ups and downs, the quiet wins and humbling failure, a word kept returning to me, which was fermentation. Quiet on surface, but aggressively bubbling underneath. Not marked by loud milestone, but slow transformation. It wasn't about chasing everything or proving myself anymore. It was about letting go, making space, and allowing things to grow at their own pace. This year, there were tons of moments I didn't feel like myself, like skipping classes to trouble, dropping courses without guilt, no longer rushing to be productive, and even lost the interest to record. Perhaps it just felt too routine or maybe too raw to document. Instead, I started to wonder, what if growth isn't always about adding more, but subtract first? Junior year was a quiet rebellion, not against others, but mostly against my own past expectation, which, therefore, I denoted as fermentation. It began, as always, with the returns of familiarity. Professor Chan's assistant again, but this time with more clarity. Yeah, I wish. In fact, it wasn't smooth at all. I thought I could do well because I had done it before, but reality proved otherwise. First of all,
这是一个大概报1个月，然后被退1个月的账单。为什么？我记录一个史上报过最复杂的账。我甚至也不知道怎么从哪边开始讲，就从应该是8月底吧开始报，然后一路报到现在都还没报成功，但是这次应该会成功。反正就是花了非常多的时间在签这个文。对，就是老师经费不够，所以要用结余款去报，但是用结余款去报的话，需要签文，就是比较麻烦。再见。
I spent so much time on my task, only to hear harsh feedback, which basically said I worked fast, but what I produced was zero. I mean, that moment stung, but it also woke me up. Yes, I've always prided myself on speed, but it taught me my first real lessons is quality. Getting things done isn't the same as doing things well. Perhaps that's also why I don't regret the course I dropped or the light credit load I took, because I finally gave myself time to treat each thing I kept with care. Around the same time, I auditioned for a musical course after joining the arts and design program. I didn't make it, but being surrounded by such talent gave me a sharp and honest mirror. It was quite surprising that I didn't feel discouraged, but inspired. I started to face my limits and let that awareness settle into my future path. Soon, it followed by moments of play. I was lucky to join the orientation camp as a junior, but pretend to be a freshman. We played, laughed, can't stay up, and woke up together. And somewhere in the lightness, I realized this was the moment I got greedy for us, for closeness, and for the shared memories. Making a wish with familiar faces and songs around the campfire, while accepting the fact that I wasn't this big but small world. Collisions happens a lot to deepen the friendship, but it's also so rare that causing others to naturally fade. And I learned not everything needs a reason to stay or go. Somewhere along the way, I joined TMBA, maybe it was the JP Morgan competition last year that lit the spark, but this year, that spark became a wildfire. I was thrilled to get in, despite knowing my limitation. But the workload? Oh my goodness, insane! Believe me, I dropped 2 courses right away and I don't regret it. And being honest to myself, first, I couldn't pretend to understand asset secularization, so I fake it, let go, reset, and regrow. And the other course was something related to future career. I mean, it wasn't really a lecture, it's more like a series of guest speech. And while I love being around those classmates, I hate sitting there pretending to listen while secretly doing TMB research and absorbing nothing, earning fake credit. So I dropped that too, to actually stay home and research properly, to give what matters my full attention. Though it was tough, many nights and days burning the midnight oil, it taught me the way more than I expected. Not just about finance and research, but also like PPT, data analysis, you name it. And what followed was JP Morgan Asset Management interview. I was nervous, really nervous. Even as a finance student, I knew I wasn't good enough when it comes to, actual finance. Maybe deep down, I feel like my grade at NTU were kind of fake. I mean, they looked fine on paper, but they were more about maintaining GPA than pursuing real growth. But I tried to act cool and pretend to look more professional during that time. Looking back now, it's kind of hilarious. I mean, of course, I didn't get it. But that experience, it became one of my best teachers. It taught me the importance of being honest, especially about my own limitation. And that lesson ended up helping me tremendously later on at the Yongtai interview. But I'll get back to that in a bit. I was finally starting to mature, learning to face my limits. But the journey of self-fermentation, still full of surprises. For example, I still can't believe I went to Japan during the school year. Yeah, you heard that right, during, and even a few weeks before the exams. I skipped tons of classes. I know, it's unbelievable. I mean, to be honest, it was chaotic and kind of ridiculous. Getting calls from Professor Chu in the middle of sightseeing, editing my paper on the train, burning the midnight oil in hotel to make group meetings, and study for my midterm on the plane. I mean, it sounds stupid, and maybe it was, but I gotta be honest, I really loved every second of it. Like the roller coaster that shook off the stress, the delicious food that felt like a hug, the mini road trip near Mount Fuji that gave me room to breathe. Finally, winter break came, full of moments I still replay in my head. There was our usual Christmas gathering, but this time it was unexpectedly fun. A chaotic gift exchange and customized Guess Who game. Big credit to my kindest friend I know. Thanks, Leah. Then came concept camp again. On the way there, I thought maybe I wouldn't feel as excited as I had the past 2 years. But on the last day, as we danced around singing without realizing how much time had passed, I knew those shared moments still meant everything to us. And finally, the trip to Chiang Mai, Thailand. I'll skip the details, but just being with them, that made me so happy. Honestly, I can't imagine my college life without these people. They're just so special. Anyway, back to the school day. It seems like the spring semester was a bit gentler. After the TMBA rush from the first semester, I chose to take fewer classes and decided to join TMBA again, which this time focused on asset management that catch my attention. At first, I thought everything would go smoothly given that I have some experience from JP Morgan Challenge for the asset management area. But nope, 2 new failures crept in. First, was more experience under my belt and only 15 credits on my plate, I suddenly found myself with a lot more free time. Second, around the halfway point of the project, I genuinely considered quitting. I was in charge of the margin market, and thanks to Trump's trade war, our targets were constantly shifting. Seriously, every week brought new chaos. On top of that, reliable data was scarce, so I really didn't want to keep going. But maybe deep down, I knew how much TMBA had helped me to grow, and maybe I just didn't want to slip back into being lazy, so I pushed through. And you know what? I am so glad I did, because in the end, we got the second place. Yes! Looking back, only taking 15 credits this semester, what I once thought having too much free time, actually gave me the space to practice something I have learned last semester, which is treat everything with care. 2 courses in particular stood out. The first was workplace professionalism, a compact 9-week intensive course held by Professor Feliz. I still remember how the class always ran from 1 p.m. till almost 7, even though it was technically supposed to end at 5:20. Anyway, first I thought it would be about corporate etiquettes and career hack, but instead, I ended up learning about myself a lot. Real trust is about honesty, not polish. Importance of perspective adjustment in relationship. Details are attitude. Week after week, the course felt like holding a mirror to my flaws, urging me not to hide but to face and refine them. It was intense, but it pushed me forward, and honestly, I'm so grateful. Whether in class or beyond, I grew so much through that challenge. The second course was called What I Must Learn at NTU. Well, I'll say this is a course where your mindset matters a lot. Thanks to my lighter workload, I could actually take it seriously. More precisely, take its strange assignments seriously. From crafting a Mission Impossible proposal, which mine is about diet, to practicing breakout ladders, to writing a failure resume, to even a despair autobiography. I feel like this course somehow gave me an excuse to slow down and really examine my life, to notice the things that I usually overlook. It even helped me to start taking my health seriously, as I mentioned before, from the Mission Impossible proposal. I mean, if it weren't for the assignments, I probably wouldn't have started working out, let alone record my weights and process, In addition, I gotta say this course is weird, but I do love it for that way. Can you imagine, one time we had a class in cafe, and the professor also told us to go outside and take pictures and photos with nature. I mean, who would do that? And once, we even had to set up for the meal with climates we barely knew. At first, I found it inconvenient, but that meal turned into something surprisingly warm. And because our in-class discussions were so personal, we all got to know each other the best and the worst sides in no time. Then came the joy of doing things just because I wanted to. I have always thought of myself as a kind of lazy, so it was a real surprise and honor when I got into the golf club so that I have the motivations to practice. Out of hundreds of students in the lottery, I was selected in the second to last draw. Yay! So every Tuesday nights from 7 to 9, I showed up. Watching myself improve weeks after weeks was honestly so cool. One of the highlights? I ranked first in the pudding competition. I'm sure it was just luck, but still, I'll take it. And beyond the sport itself, golf lived up to its reputation as a social activity. So, yeah, I met so many people and unexpected mutual friends along the way. But unfortunately, not everything went so well. On a whim, I joined the singing competitions for international and overseas Chinese students. Well, too bad, I didn't make it to the first round. Cuckoo. And just like last semester's musical course, this experience reminded me there were always someone better. So, I'm incredibly grateful they invited me to perform Over the Rainbow, a song I had always dreamed of singing solo at finance night, but never had the gut to. So yeah, for that, I'll say dream fulfilled. Speaking of finance night, there was no way I was going to miss it this year. Once again, I performed. Whether it was singing with Emblem or team up with younger classmates, I'm deeply thankful for everyone who performed with me. But what touched me the most was that the friends in the audience, shouting my names, cheering me on, that kind of support is warm in a way nothing else. But the best part is the chaotic but fun dance final. Kamsa kept Gen 16 and 17 on stage together, jumping, waving, laughing like a crazy. Well, I'll say, it wasn't magic, pure joy at all. Looking back, one of my quieter forms of growth was in friendship. Surprisingly, one of my English taught marketing course placed me among the bunch of international students. Even though I'm slow to warm up, I found myself grabbing lunch with them before class and sharing small moments together. As I enter the third year, I feel like myself becoming more introverted. But these small friendships feel like a little gift. And then there was the unexpected twist, my internship. To be honest, I never really understood the whole points of internship. I always thought, why rush? After all, I only got 4 years of student life, so why not just, live fully as a student? But one day, while skimming through NTU mail, I saw a posting from the internship at Yongtak, Korea. On impulse, I sent it my latest CV. And what's more interesting is that the next day, my corporate manager professor stopped me before the class to ask, did you apply? And even requested my CV again. And before I knew, I had an interview. Compared to JP Morgan, I barely prepared. I'd gone out with some friends the night before, telling myself to look into prep, only to spend the entire afternoon chatting. But strangely enough, the interview went far better than I expected. And the moment it ended, I just had a feeling like I got it. Looking back, maybe every success and failure from this year was preparing me for that moment. This time, my interview wasn't about pretend to be the top candidate, but it was more like honesty. I wasn't desperate to impress, but just showed up with curiosity, calm, and willingness to connect. The habits I built in workplace professionalism course, the quiet confidence shaped through TMBA, and many changes that I gone through from the failure, somehow it all came together in that one conversation. Somewhere along the way, I grew. Somewhere along the way, I softened into who I am now. Perhaps not every change needs to be loud. Not every growth needs to be seen. And this was the year I didn't rush. And I guess this is called fermentation. To my junior year, again, you flew by so fast, but thank you for not demanding the loudness. And thank you for letting me quietly, gently ferment. Again, see you no more.